Hey, what's going on, guys? Alex here with Tim, and this is your weekly fishing report. So we're going to do something new. Every first report of each month, we're going to give you guys a fishing forecast for what's going on during that month, and then, what's going to happen, give you a little rundown. So let's start off with, I guess, the month of March right now. It's obviously starting to feel like spring, and there's a lot of things that are going to happen here. We got rockfish, obviously. That's the big one there. But we also have perch and shad fishing. Pretty much everything is going to start happening here soon. But I guess let's touch on what our forecast is for rockfish. Temperature seems like they're going to actually jump up, which is a good thing. The rockfish are going to start moving up the rivers, just moving all around, which is a good thing because it's going to push a lot of those fish up to our local area here. The past few years, right around, the middle of March to the end of March, we've had a great bite anywhere from just south of Eastern Bay all the way to just south of the Bay Bridge. And there could be anywhere even right above the bridge. I mean, those fish have to go north. So right. That's one of those forecasts which we think is going to be the same for this year, with a lot of those fish concentrating right around, the mouth of the chop tank, and a lot of those fish going to be around the Eastern Bay area. Let's talk about perch. What's the typical, stuff that, happens in March, and what do you think is going to happen during this, warm spell coming up?
Well, hopefully, once those waters start getting into the 50s, the white and yellow perch, in theory, should be the yellow perch followed by the white perch. Will push up some of the smaller creeks and tributaries off our main rivers and start spawning. So look for that to happen. Start looking for fish in 3-5 foot of water.
Besides the perch in those creeks, there's going to be some shad, a mix of hickory shad and American shad, depending on where you are. And with these warmer temperatures, my prediction is going to be that a lot of those shad are going to show up actually right between the middle to the end of March. But we do have some good 70-degree weather. So once again, like you said, it's all based on water temperature. But get ready, because you might start catching them mixed in with those white perch in a lot of places like Tuckahoe, Greensboro, and even in the Potomac. That's going to start happening soon. Something else that's going on is going to be your actual, late bite of, or not late, but early spring black drum fishing in Assateague and Chincoteague. Usually at the end of March, we start to see that bite picked up. Most of it happens in April, but you do see some of those fish that, start getting caught around the end of March. Besides that, we got some freshwater stuff and some more stuff in the creeks here, which is going to be pickerel, right? Let's talk a little bit about pickerel.
Yeah, so as the water continues to warm, they're gonna start feeding a lot harder than they have been in the heart of winter. You just start looking for those on some muddy flats where they can bask in the sun and warm up. Structure's good too, your docks, grass is great, or like frag lines and whatnot. But yeah, that bite should be improving as we get to the end of March.
And then also, just speaking of that, right around some of these tidal creeks, you also get a good pre-spawn bass bite that starts to happen in the Upper Bay, Potomac tributaries, and even into some of the ponds and lakes around the state. So remember, good spawning areas are going to be where you want to start, and just facing on, just fishing off of them. So there's those transitioning areas where you typically find them later in the year. They're going to be staging in that pre-spawn area. Besides that, there's also catfish. Everybody's been talking about the catfish bite and what they think is going to happen with it this year, especially for us here in the Annapolis area, where the past few years we had an excellent March to April bite right along Sandy Point, Kent Island, and last year was a little, on and off. And I think this year we hopefully will get a good bite of that, especially with the temperatures rising. I think Sandy Point is going to be, once again, a good area to go chunk off the shoreline, and a lot of these local state parks and, local parks where you can go out and actually catch a decent amount of blue cats. Other than that is going to be your spring trout stocking, which I know a lot of us have been doing some of that fishing, and that's going to continue to happen here throughout this month and into April, where they're going to be stocking even heavier numbers of fish in a lot of these parks. So keep an eye on the Maryland DNR website and the schedule to keep up with those dates. All right, guys, let's jump into the actual fishing report, and we'll start off with rockfish. Most of the reports are coming from down south, but it doesn't mean that the fish are only there. Calvert Cliffs has been great, and remember, there is some closures now on where you can go into on some of these rivers, so make sure to go to the DNR website to check that map. But also, open water, anywhere from Chesapeake Beach up to Eastern Bay, like I said on the forecast, make sure to check it out. Those fish are moving right now. They're moving up to spawn, and some of those fish might be staging in some areas, so you will find pockets of fish spread out, but obviously we know what they're eating, and that is some bunker. And what mimics bunker really well, it's the NLBNs. Nice thick profile. You can pair up with whatever jig you need to get down to the water depth that you want to get it to, and they work great. Other than that, there is some restrictions on trolling. Make sure to look those up too, but that is also a great way to find fish, especially right now. If they're all spread out and there's no big concentration of them, you can always troll a couple, tandem rigs, umbrellas, and you will catch fish. That's always going to be an effective way to fish. So let's jump into some other things, and let's talk about the yellow perch and white perch that are happening right now in the creeks.
Well, currently it seems like most of the perch are still kind of holding in the deeper parts, kind of staging the spawn. So it's really hard to beat. Like just a high-low rig. We got these Chesapeake sabikis here. They're 2-hook Chesapeake Bay legal. You can tip them with grass shrimp or minnows, but they're super effective just jigged over those deeper schools of perch. As the fish start to move up the creeks, you can start throwing like little soft plastics like these gulp right here, and do well as they move up the spawn. But yeah, look for waves of yellow perch starting to push up the tributaries here in the next week or so, especially with this warm front that we got coming. I imagine it should be pretty quick. As soon as the water heats up to the low 50s or so, they'll start pushing up and hopefully get some good waves of yellow perch followed by white perch.
Yeah, and some of the areas to keep an eye on are going to be, Tuckahoe, right at Hillsborough. That's a classic area to go check out for some of those yellow perch and white perch. Also, if you're fishing in the Upper Bay, the mouth of the Susquehanna and the Northeast River are also great areas to go out and catch some yellow perch this time of the year. Besides that, there's going to be a lot of places down in the Potomac like Mattawoman Creek, Piscataway Creek that hold a good amount of yellow perch down in southern Maryland. There's also different areas in these local waterways here. If you have access to it, the actual Severn River has a decent amount of them. And as you guys know, the Magathie at Beechwood's are a classic local area to go target those fish. And like Tim said, there's going to be waves of different yellow perch and white perch mixed in, so don't be surprised if you start catching both at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other than that, let's touch bases on trout fishing. Trout fishing has been great for a lot of the anglers out there, especially fishing a lot of these places. Locally, they've been stocked. Waterworks was one of those that got stocked this year for the first time, so one place to check out. Allen's Pond, Governor's Bridge Pond, and also the Tuckahoe Creek in the upper part where the spillway is. And one lure that I recommend that a lot of people don't throw around here, a lot of guys throw it in faster moving water, but it's also a lure that can provide some decent bites for trout, are these pin minnows. It's a little jerk bait. Trout will feed on a lot of different things, so especially after a few days of being stuck on those bodies of water. So this can provide you some more bites besides the little typical spinner baits. Let's talk about some other stuff, and let's talk about like pickerel fishing in the creeks here, Tim.
Yeah. So your typical array of soft plastics work great for pickerel this time of year. Little 3 to 4 inch profiles are great. Jerk baits like this Flash Boost by Shimano are also deadly. Something about the ripping action that these provide, just kind of get good reaction strikes out of those fish. And yeah, just look for slight changes in water temperature as you're tooling around. Even 1 or 2, even a half or 1 degree of difference can really turn those fish on.
100%.
And yeah, all our local rivers should be starting to get some good bites. Magathie, the Severn, and yeah, just mill ponds too. So
yeah. one of my favorite places in the Patapsco. All the creeks of the Patapsco provide a good fishery for pickerel, and you might find some yellow perch mixed in those areas too. Let's go into, other stuff that's happening right now, and that's going to be catfishing. Remember, catfish are always a good kind of like safety net kind of fish to go after, but the area where you're fishing really gives you a better understanding if you're going to do great or just catch a few. And some of the classic areas for around here where you can catch a good amount of numbers are going to be, of course, the Potomac River. Plenty of spaces, places to fish off the Potomac River from the shoreline and boats. The other one is going to be the Patuxent River right around Jug Bay. There's so many different parks there that you can go off from the shoreline and on kayaks or boats, and it's a great area to catch numbers. Locally here, I will say our bite is still a little early, but you never know. There might be a few guys catching right off the beach here at Sandy Point, so you got to go out there and try it out. But it usually does pick up right around the middle of March, so that can be a great thing to go out and try out. And the good old classic floater rig. This is going to be a great rig to get some bites on. Keeps the bait off the bottom, put a nice chunk of mud shad, LY, herring, eel, whatever you feel like there, and if they're around, they're going to bite it for sure. So that's a great little rig to use out here. Other than that, guys, there's a lot of different fisheries that you can go out and try, whether it's bass fishing in the mill ponds. There's other types of panfish around the area like crappie that you can do in some of these tidal rivers in the eastern shore, and I will say Upper Bay as well. So there's a lot of opportunities coming up here with this weather finally getting better for us here in the next few days, which next week it looks beautiful. So make sure you guys get out there and go fishing because it is that time of the year. So that's it for your fishing report, guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.